Hello everyone, and in that video I would like to talk about the feature which I didn't cover before, but it exists in super dynamic lighting and it could be quite useful for big static environments when you want to add some quality with the baked information. I mean baked shadows or baked global illumination. So here is an example. I have a special type of light map which was available by default in MotionBuilder, this Global Lightmap Texture light map, but it wasn't really used by anyone, I guess. So we have this baked information and we see these shadows here, but actually I don't have any lighting in the scene. So this one is not a diffuse texture because the materials, they are empty. This is the spatial light map which is assigned per object. You see this affected the objects. And if I add any light into the scene, it will be just on top of this baked information. So how to create it? Let me show it right now. And I will start with a new scene. So I will use Maya. I will use absolutely classic standard render default one software, and I will use the standard tool for baking, which is called transfer maps. But if you can use any advanced renderer like Arnold or V-Ray or etc., any render, I guess you will have much better quality and more features like global illumination baking, for example. But anyway, it's just an example how to deal with this. So let's start with a simple scene as I had before. I made in a plane, sphere, and cube. The most important thing about that is the UV set. So now I'm adding the lighting that I would like to bake, and it will be depth map, not so dark, maybe a bit bigger resolution by default, and I will use default render. So this is our shadow that I would like to bake. And just to separate one object from another, I would like to assign different materials to them, different colors at least. Like that. Alright, so this is what I have in software, and this is what I would like to have in MotionBuilder for my static environment. So now we need to deal with the UV set. This is the most important part of this baking. So I'm going to modeling and go into UV editor. The most important thing here is that for our UV set, sometimes the polygons, they share the same space on UV set. And if, for example, our transfer map feature will draw a shadow area on a texture here, then in case of polygon overlapping on UV level, we will have the shadow area copied twice on the polygons that we actually don't need. So what we need to do is to have a unique space for every polygon so that our transfer map system will bake shading information on them without any overlapping, so that will be absolutely unique, and it will look correct then in MotionBuilder as well. So the quickest way how to make every polygon unique on UV set is to make it automatic. The most important thing here is that I would like to create a new UV set. I will call it UV Lightmap. This is important because we need to specify the same name in MotionBuilder as well. So I'm projecting here, and every polygon per object has unique space. But I would like to have one light map for all my environment. So what I need to do to make it absolutely unique is to go to feature of layouting. I'm changing the value for shell padding, so that will be the distance between every shell that we have here. That will help to avoid artifacts, to not have overlapping of baking one polygon into a neighbor. This is also quite important note. So we have this unique space for every polygon in my new feature light map. But what I don't like here is that by default, it's, for example, my sphere was cut too many times. Maybe it's not important, but I will lose a little bit of quality. So by default, sphere has, if we go to original map, it also has a unique space for every polygon. So it's fine, and I would like to use it. So I copy my UV set to light map as well. The same for the box. I have here more shells, but if I go to map 1, it's only one shell. I would like also to copy that to light map. So now I'm ready to make a new layout. So I will have only 3 shells in this layout per object, which is perfect. And so our UV set is ready. Now we need to create a light map texture, bake information, transfer maps. This transfer maps dialog, or all this feature of transfer maps, is not really kind of convenient to use directly for baking light maps, because we need a source mesh here. In my case, I would like to bake shading information just directly from the geometry I have. I don't want to really transfer anything here. So I disconnect this option, which is by default is on, like connect maps to shader. I don't really need to connect my light map then to these objects. I need just to create this map and nothing else. So I guess in V-Ray or on other engines you probably will have more advanced special prepared features for baking shadows, for baking global illumination. I remember there was more advanced things, but I will just show on the standard one what we have out of the box in Maya. So I specify this default, the format is JPEG, I want to include shadows there, and for my source map I will do a trick for that. So I have my 3 meshes. I want to duplicate them, but then I will combine and delete the history. So this is my mesh. I would like to assign Lambert material to avoid any specular lighting on them and make it absolutely full white, so it will look something like that. And then I will return it back to 0 because I made in selection this new mesh as the source. So it will take information from the source polygons and bake shading information into my 3 meshes that I have here. This one, 3. Yep, this is what we have. So now it's ready to bake. I need just to check map dimensions. 124, 1K map. It's better to use power of 2 size of a texture. And in case of MotionBuilder, the fastest one to load and to operate with is DDS actually. Just a small tip about the MotionBuilder. But I will use JPEG, it will be easier to overview the texture that we have. So let's bake and see what we will get. So it's ready, and then I would like to export my original 3 objects. This is my static scene into some file. I will override it because I want to open that in MotionBuilder. Here we go. We don't have light map yet, but it's almost here. What we need to do first of all is to assign super dynamic lighting shader. So everything goes black because from Maya we got black emissive with the one channel, but we don't want to use emissive channel actually. So we turn that off. So now we need to see where is our baked information in images. This is our texture. This is our light map baked on UV space that we created for our 3 objects. So now I'm going to Global Lighting Texture and just drag and drop light map on them. So we have in textures our texture light map. We need to connect it with our new imported light map texture. And the last thing here is that our UV set is empty. And this is disabled control on UI system in MotionBuilder. So you don't have any possibility to change it by clicking or anything. The only help what we can have here is go to Python editor, and there is the assign UV set script, which is available on GitHub OpenMoBu repository in the Python scripts actions. So we need to select our texture, run a script, and specify the same name that we have in Maya that we created. So now we have this light map. It's assigned for every object. We can check. We have assigned super dynamic lighting. We have assigned light map. Let's go now and press 6 to go to texture view, and then press 7 to go to shader view. Here we go. This is our baked information that we got in Maya and baked into our light map texture. And this could be quite useful for static environment where we want a lot of cool details on shading, but these details are not animatable. But we can also light something on top, and we can have textures on top or normal maps and etc. But this one information will be baked. So we can make kind of things like this to have baked, and also some shading. Alright, that's it for now. I hope that this feature could be useful for you. Thanks for watching. See you next videos. Bye.